My name is Rosella Crowder. I'm 18. And this is the story of the moment I realized something most people never figure out until it's too late. Just because someone raised you doesn't mean they ever really saw you. 6 months ago, my mother stood at the kitchen sink and lit a match. Not for warmth, not for light, but to erase me. At least, that's what she thought she was doing. The flame caught fast. Paper always does. And for a second, the whole room flickered orange, like something sacred was being burned. Except it wasn't sacred to them. It was just inconvenient. 8 envelopes, 8 chances, 8 futures. Gone. And my father? He laughed. Not loud, not cruel, not in the obvious way, just dismissive, like I had just told him I wanted to be an astronaut with a cardboard box and duct tape. Save the money for your brother, he said. Like my dreams were a coupon that expired. Trevor's going D1. That was the moment everything shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like something inside me locked into place and said, "Okay, got it. You don't believe in me. You never did, and you never will. Cool. I'll build it without you." But before I get to how everything blew up at Thanksgiving, you need to understand how it all started, because people don't just wake up strong. They get built that way, usually in places no one's paying attention to. May 15th, 7:30 p.m. I was upstairs in my room, sitting at my desk, staring at my laptop like it owed me answers. I had been refreshing my email every 10 minutes for 3 straight days. No exaggeration. I was that kid. The one who triple checks everything. The one who studies when no one's watching. The one who doesn't talk about her goals out loud. Because if you say them too soon, people start laughing before you even get there. And then, it came through. Your SAT score is available. My hands? Shaking. Like, actually shaking. I clicked. 690 math. 780 verbal. I didn't breathe. Not at first. I just stared at the numbers like they might disappear if I blinked too fast. It wasn't perfect, I knew that, but it was good. No, it was strong. Strong enough for the schools I'd been researching since freshman year. Late nights, cold pizza, YouTube lectures at 2 a.m., dreaming bigger than I was allowed to say out loud. I printed the score, held the paper in my hands. It was still warm, that soft curl at the edges, that smell of fresh ink. It felt like possibility, like something opening. So I went downstairs. Because, stupid me, I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be the moment they saw me. Dad was on the couch watching football highlights. Trevor was next to him, scrolling on his phone like the world didn't exist past his thumbs. I stood there in the doorway, holding everything I had worked for. "I got my SAT score," I said. Dad didn't even turn fully around. "How bad?" That question, it didn't shock me. That's the worst part. 1470, I said. He laughed. Not big, not loud, just enough. "That's cute, Rosie, real cute." And just like that, everything inside me went quiet. Trevor glanced up for half a second. Our eyes met, and I swear there was something there. Not pride, not excitement. Something like he knew. But he didn't say anything. And silence can be louder than anything. Dad kept talking. "Trevor got 1080 and he's going D1. You think colleges care about tests anymore? They want athletes, leaders, kids who actually do something." Do something. That part stayed with me. Because I had been doing something, just not in a way they understood. The paper in my hand suddenly felt heavy, like it didn't belong in that room, like I didn't belong in that room. But I stood there anyway. Maybe I could apply. "Apply where?" he cut in. Didn't even look at me. "We already talked about this." That phrase, that final tone, conversation over before it even starts. Mom appeared in the kitchen doorway.
Arms crossed. Decision already made. "We're putting everything into Trevor," she said. "You're smart enough to figure things out without wasting money." Wasting money on me. Need-based aid? No, Dad said. Flat. Cold. Final. "We're not filling out forms. We're not chasing fantasies. Trevor's the one with the future." And then, the line I'd heard my whole life. "You're practical. Practical girls. Stay close to home. Don't ask for too much. Don't dream too big. Don't make things complicated. Don't take up space. Practical girls. Make room for someone else." That was the moment, that exact moment, where something inside me said, "No, you don't get to decide that. You don't get to write my ending just because you're louder." So I went back upstairs, closed my door, sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and smiled. Because here's the part they didn't know. I had already applied, 2 days earlier, May 13th, 9:47 p.m. Every application, submitted, confirmed, locked in. They burned paper, but I had already built the future, digitally, silently, untouchable. I scrolled through my email confirmations like they were receipts of rebellion. MIT, Caltech, Stanford, Princeton, each one stamped with a timestamp, proof that I didn't need permission. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, that Andromeda Galaxy poster above me glowing faintly in the dark. Grandma Eleanor gave me that poster. She was the only one who ever asked, "What do you want?" And when I said, "Aerospace engineer," she didn't laugh. She didn't redirect. She just smiled and said, "Then you better start looking up." She died 2 months before that night. Heart attack. Sudden. No warning. At the funeral, Grandpa pulled me aside, pressed an envelope into my hand. My name in her handwriting. "You'll know when it's time," he said. I didn't know it then, but that letter was going to change everything. That same night, 11:43 p.m., my phone buzzed. NASA. Internship decision. I almost didn't open it. Almost. Because hope is dangerous when you've been told not to expect anything. But I clicked. Read it once, twice, 3 times. Congratulations. That word hit different. Selected. Paid internship. Propulsion systems. 40 hours a week, right here in Huntsville. I sat up in bed, heart racing. No one knew. No one would know. Not yet. I typed one word. Yes. Hit. Send. And that was it. That was the beginning. The moment I stopped asking for space and started taking it. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. You don't become unstoppable when people believe in you. You become unstoppable when they don't believe in you. And you keep going anyway. I didn't tell anyone about NASA. Not my parents, not my friends, not even Trevor. Because when you grow up in a house where your wins don't count, you learn real quick how to protect them. June 2nd,
6:12 a.m. The sky wasn't even fully awake yet. That soft, gray light, like the world was still deciding if it wanted to exist. I stood outside Mrs. Patterson's house, keys in my hand, staring at her old Honda Civic like it was something sacred. It wasn't. It rattled when you turned it on, the AC worked when it felt like it, and the radio only picked up 3 stations. But to me, it was freedom. "Don't crash it," she had said, handing me the keys. "And eat something, honey. You look like you survive on air and stubbornness." She wasn't wrong. I got in, started the engine, took a breath, and drove toward the place I had only ever seen in documentaries and late-night YouTube rabbit holes. NASA Marshall Space Flight Center. Yeah, that NASA. The one kids write essays about. The one I didn't tell anyone about NASA. Not my parents, not my friends, not even Trevor. Because when you grow up in a house where your wins don't count, you learn real quick how to protect them. June 2nd, 6:12 a.m. The sky wasn't even fully awake yet. That soft, gray light, like the world was still deciding if it wanted to exist. I stood outside Mrs. Patterson's house, keys in my hand, staring at her old Honda Civic like it was something sacred. It wasn't. It rattled when you turned it on, the AC worked when it felt like it, and the radio only picked up 3 stations. But to me, it was freedom. "Don't crash it," she had said, handing me the keys. "And eat something, honey. You look like you survive on air and stubbornness." She wasn't wrong. I got in, started the engine, took a breath, and drove toward the place I had only ever seen in documentaries and late-night YouTube rabbit holes. NASA Marshall Space Flight Center. Yeah, that NASA. The one kids write essays about. The one adults say maybe someday about. The one my parents never imagined I'd even step foot in. And definitely not as someone who belonged there. The security gate came into view. My hands tightened on the wheel. For a second, I almost turned around. Not because I didn't want it, but because I wasn't used to being allowed to have something this big. That kind of fear, it's not about failure. It's about being seen. I rolled down the window, handed over my ID. The guard checked his list, looked at me, looked back at the screen, then nodded. "Go ahead." Just like that. No dramatic music, no fireworks, just a gate lifting and a life opening. Inside, everything felt massive. Buildings that looked like they held secrets, people walking with purpose, badge scanners, security doors, that quiet hum of something important always happening somewhere. I got my badge, MS2025 INT 138. They took my photo. I looked terrified. Honestly, I was, but I clipped it on anyway. Because courage doesn't mean you're scared. It just means you don't let the fear decide. They handed me a lab coat, a hard hat, a folder, and a direction. Dr. Whitmore's office, 2nd floor. That name? I had Googled it the night before. 25 years at NASA, published papers, reputation for being brilliant and not tolerating nonsense. So, yeah, no pressure. I knocked. "Come in." His office was simple. Desk, stacks of papers, coffee mug that said, "Failure is not an option, but it is data." He looked up, eyes sharp. Not unkind, just precise. "You're Rosella." Not a question, a statement.
Yes, sir. He leaned back slightly. You're the youngest intern we've had in 5 years. Pause. Don't waste it. And that was my welcome. No pep talk, no hand-holding, just a challenge. Exactly what I needed. The first time I heard a test engine fire, it didn't sound real. It sounded like the sky ripping open, a deep, violent roar that you don't just hear, you feel in your chest, in your bones, like your entire body is being reminded how small it is and how big the universe actually is. I stood there, hard hat slightly crooked, goggles fogging at the edges, and I thought, this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. Not in a kitchen being told to stay small, not on the sidelines of someone else's dream. Here, where things are built, where numbers matter, where effort shows, where nobody cares who your brother is. I worked hard, not trying to impress hard, not look busy hard, real work, data analysis, simulation runs, learning software I had only read about, sitting in meetings where engineers argued about decimals like lives depended on it, because sometimes they did. I didn't speak much at first. I listened, took notes, stayed late, asked questions when I knew I wouldn't sound stupid, and slowly people started noticing. Not in a loud way, not in a wow, look at her way, but in that quiet respect kind of way, the best kind. Every evening I drove home, parked the car back at Mrs. Patterson, walked into my house like nothing had changed, like I hadn't spent 8 hours inside one of the most advanced research environments in the country, like I hadn't stood 10 feet away from controlled explosions and precision engineering, like I was building something real. No one asked. That's the part that still gets me. No one asked. The first week, Dad said, "Where were you?" I said, "Library." He nodded. "Good. Stay out of trouble." That was it. That was the whole conversation. And honestly, that told me everything. Because when someone doesn't ask, it's not because they forgot. It's because they don't expect the answer to matter. Trevor came back from camp in late June, sunburned, louder than usual, talking fast about drills, coaches, opportunities. Dad ate it up. Every word. Hook, line, and sinker. How many scouts? What did they say? You feel faster? Mom smiled like it was already happening, like the future had already been decided. I sat there at the table, quiet, listening, watching, and I noticed something no one else did. Trevor's eyes. They didn't match his words. They flickered, hesitated, like he was trying to convince himself just as much as everyone else. But nobody wanted the truth. They wanted the story. And the story was, Trevor was the future. So that's what they kept telling. By week 4 at NASA, something shifted. Dr. Whitmore handed me a folder. Your project. Just like that. No build-up. No dramatic speech. Inside, research papers. Old and new. Equations. Data sets. Notes. Microthruster efficiency, he said. See what you can do. That's it. That's all I got. And honestly, it was everything. Because that meant he trusted me enough to try. I spent nights running simulations, adjusting variables, failing, retrying. Again.
again. 47 times. 47 different configurations, angles, fuel ratios, vector adjustments, tiny changes that most people would ignore. But here, tiny changes were everything. And then, it worked. 12% improvement. Not magic, not a miracle, just persistence, stacked on top of itself. Dr. Whitmore reviewed it. Didn't smile, didn't overreact, just nodded. This is good work. Pause. Publishable. That word hit harder than any compliment I'd ever gotten at home. Because it wasn't emotional, it was earned. At night, I'd lie in bed staring at that Andromeda poster, thinking about Grandma, thinking about the envelope, still unopened, still waiting, like it knew something I didn't yet. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel stuck. I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like I was waiting for permission. I felt in motion, like everything was finally moving in the direction I had always known it could, even if no one else saw it yet. But here's the thing about building something in silence. It gets heavy. Carrying a secret that big, it changes you. Because part of you wants to scream it, wants to say, "Look at me now," wants to prove them wrong. But the other part, the stronger part, says, "Not yet. Let them talk. Let them believe what they want. Because when the truth comes out, it's going to hit harder." By August, I had two things nobody could take from me: proof and momentum. Dr. Whitmore called me into his office on my last day. Pathways program, he said. Internship during the school year, potential long-term. I didn't hesitate. Yes. He extended his hand. "You've got something, Rosella. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." I almost laughed, because someone already had, for years. But they were wrong. And now I had evidence. That night at dinner, Mom said, "You should get a job. Retail, waitressing, something practical." I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel hurt. I felt distant, like I was listening to someone describe a version of me that no longer existed. "I've been working," I said. "Good," she replied, and went back to talking about Trevor. No questions, no curiosity, nothing. And that's when I realized they didn't just underestimate me, they didn't know me at all. And the wildest part? The one person who did know something was Trevor. I didn't find out later, but one day in July, he saw my NASA badge sitting right there in my bag. Proof. Undeniable. He picked it up, read it, understood it, and then just put it back. Didn't tell them, didn't confront me, just kept it. My secret. Safe. That mattered more than anything he could have said, because sometimes loyalty is quiet. By the time fall came, everything was in place. Applications submitted, NASA experience, money saved, future building. Silently, carefully, brick by brick. And at home, nothing had changed. Same conversations, same assumptions, same story being told over and over again. Trevor is the future. Rosella is practical. But here's what they didn't understand. The future they were investing in, it was already cracking. And the one they ignored was about to walk into the room and change everything.
By November, everything was ready. Not loud, not obvious, but ready. Like a storm you can't see yet, but you can feel it in the air. The kind that makes everything go quiet right before it hits. I had my acceptance, my offer, my proof, and still, I didn't say anything. Not yet. Because some truths, they deserve an audience. Thanksgiving morning, 7:02 a.m., the house already smelled of butter, sage, and something pretending to be peace. Mom was in the kitchen moving fast, pots, pans, oven doors opening and closing like rhythm. Dad was setting up tables like he was hosting something important, which, in his mind, he was. Because today wasn't just dinner, it was a performance, and everyone already knew their roles. Trevor came downstairs around 10, wearing his football jersey, number 12. Dad grinned like he'd just seen a trophy. That's my boy. Trevor nodded. Didn't smile. Didn't meet my eyes. But I saw it. That tightness in his jaw. That weight sitting behind his eyes. He knew. He knew something was off. He just didn't know how it was going to break. By noon, the house was full, voices overlapping, laughter that felt a little too practiced, plates clinking, people hugging like they hadn't been quietly judging each other all year. 22 people. That's how many ended up at that table. 22 witnesses. I remember thinking, good. Let them all hear it. Let them all see it. We sat down around 3:15. Long table, extra chairs squeezed in, china plates, Grandma Eleanor's photo at the end, smiling, watching, like she already knew how this was going to go. Dad stood, said grace, thanked God for Trevor, specifically Trevor, his success, his future, his opportunities. Nothing about me, not even a general mention, just him. I kept my head down, hands folded, but inside, I was steady, calm, because when you've already done the work, you don't need validation in the moment. You just wait. Then, the phone rang. That old landline sound, sharp, out of place, like something cutting through the script. Mom glanced at it. Unknown number. California area code. Dad waved it off. Let it go. It rang again. Longer this time. Louder. Grandpa spoke. Maybe it's important. Something in his tone made her pause, so she answered. Hello? At first, nothing changed, just a normal call. Then her face shifted. Confusion, then tension, then color draining. I'm sorry, who? Pause. You're trying to reach my daughter? And just like that, everything stopped. Forks midair. Voices gone. 22 people holding their breath. Mom turned slowly, looked right at me. Rosella, did you apply to Caltech? I stood up, calm, walked over, held out my hand. Her fingers were shaking. Mine weren't. Hello, this is Rosella. The voice on the other end was clear, professional, warm. Hi, Rosella. This is Dr. Chen from Caltech Financial Aid. We've been trying to reach you. 22 people listening, every word. Yes, ma'am. We just wanted to confirm your full financial aid package, $68,000 per year. Will you be accepting? I didn't rush, didn't look at anyone. Yeah, I said. I will. Gasps. Actual gasps, like the air got pulled out of the room. She kept talking. Campus visit, welcome event, class of 2030. Congratulations. I thanked her, hung up, set the phone down, and turned around. Silence. Heavy. Real.
Dad stood slowly.
What was that?
I met his eyes. I got into Caltech. It landed. Hard. Like something breaking open.
You applied? He said.
I nodded. Before you burned the envelopes. Trevor's head snapped up.
Before?
2 days before. You could feel it, that shift, that moment when a lie starts collapsing under its own weight. Mom's voice shook. Why didn't you tell us? I looked at her. Really looked. Would you have listened? No one answered, because everyone knew the truth. Then I said it, all of it. I worked at NASA this summer. Now the room didn't just go quiet, it stilled, like time itself paused to catch up. Where? Someone whispered. Marshall Space Flight Center. Doing what? Propulsion systems. I kept my voice even, steady. I worked 40 hours a week, got paid, ran simulations, improved efficiency by 12% on a microthruster model. Mrs. Henderson gasped. Oh my God. Dad just stared at me, like he was seeing me for the first time, or maybe realizing he never had. Then Trevor stood up, chair scraping loud. I'm not D1. That sentence, it hit differently. I'm backup. I barely play. There are no scouts. His voice cracked. You spent everything on me, and she built it everything herself. Now he was crying, not loud, but real. And you told her she wasn't worth it. That was it. That was the moment the whole illusion shattered. Not because of me, but because of him. Because truth coming from the favorite, that's the one they can't ignore. Then Grandpa stood up, walked over to me, put his hand on my shoulder. There's more. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the envelope, the one I had been waiting for, the one with my name, Grandma's handwriting. He opened it, hands shaking, started reading. Rosella is the one. I stopped breathing. She's got Eleanor in her, quiet, brilliant, built to last. Tears hit before I could stop them. I watched her. I saw what you all missed. The room was gone, everything blurred. She doesn't need permission to be extraordinary. That line broke something inside me, because it was the truth I had been living but never heard out loud. Tell her I'm proud. Grandpa's voice cracked. Tell her the stars were always meant for her. I cried. Not small tears, not quiet ones, the kind that come from somewhere deep, somewhere that's been holding everything for too long. Because she saw me, before anyone else did, before I even knew how to see myself. Then came the last piece, the trust. $75,000. For college. For me. Not because I asked for it, not because I proved it to my parents, but because she believed it before I ever had to. People started coming to me, one by one, hugging me, apologizing, saying things they should have said years ago. But the only people who didn't move, my parents, they stayed at the table, frozen. Because sometimes, when the truth hits hard enough, you don't know how to stand up in front of it. That night, I packed my bag. Didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't wait. Grandpa stood by the door. I've got a room for you. I nodded, walked past my parents. They didn't stop me. didn't know how. Trevor met me at the stairs. I'm sorry. I hugged him. It's not your fault. Because it wasn't. He was just trying to survive the same house I was. At Grandpa's house, everything felt different. Quiet. Real. Safe. I looked at Grandma's pictures on the wall. Her smile. Her eyes. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel invisible. Weeks passed. Calls came. I didn't answer. Apologies came. I didn't rush. Because healing, it doesn't just happen because someone says sorry. It happens when they show they mean it. February. Airport. Bag in hand. Future waiting. Grandpa hugged me tight. She'd be proud. I know, I said. And I did. Now I'm here. Caltech. Room 237. Looking out at mountains that don't care who believed in me, only that I showed up. And I did. My parents? They're trying. Slowly. Awkwardly. But I'm not rushing that. Because I learned something the hard way. You don't owe anyone access to the life they tried to limit. They can earn their way back in, just like I earned my way out. So if you're listening to this, and you've ever been the one they underestimated, the one they called practical, the one they told to stay small, hear me when I say this. They don't get to decide your ceiling. They don't get to define your future. And they sure as hell don't get to burn something you built for yourself. Because the real things, the important things, they don't live on paper. They live in you. And once you build that, no one can take it. My name is Rosella Crowder, and I was never invisible. They just weren't looking. If this hit you, don't just sit with it. Tell me, what are you building that nobody sees yet?